Alright guys, today we're going to go over the recovery, recycle, recharge machine. Anytime that you go to work on an air conditioning system on a light duty, medium duty, or heavy duty vehicle, you cannot just let the refrigerant go out into the atmosphere. So you have to use this tool right here, and this tool does recovery, vacuum, and recharge all in one. So we'll just go over a couple of basics on the machine. This machine has your manifold and gauges on it where you can check your low side and your high side. It has a keypad that you can prompt it to do the recovery, recharge, or vacuum on it. You can enter information, and we'll go over it in just in a minute. You got on and off valves for each side of the your manifold. You have your hoses that we're going to connect to our system. The red side will always go on the high pressure side. The blue hose will be always connected to the low pressure discharge side. If you look at the machine, you can see we have a refrigerant tank inside the machine. We're not going to open it up, but it has a recovery vacuum pump. It has a set of scales. It has filters where it's filtering the recovery, the refrigerant recovered from the system. That way, if you have a compressor failure and you recover the contaminated refrigerant, it's not putting contaminated refrigerant back in. Now, if you'll come a little bit closer, we'll go over the proper hookup for this. All right, so save a little time, I went ahead and made sure that these valves are ready to go. I have the lines opened up here. All right, the blue line will always go on the discharge side. That will be the suction side. To hook it up, to make sure, always pull the quick release tab up. Take your fitting, slide it down on there and release the tab. Take your high side, pull the tab up, put it on your high pressure side, hook it up, and slide the tab down. Now they're hooked up. Now we need to open the valves. So when we open the valves, you just screw the top of them in. That's the valve. Screw them in till they touch the Schrader valve. Do not force them any further than when you feel it stop. If you make them go further than that, then what happens is they bend that Schrader valve, and all the work you've just done, when you remove it, you're going to have to do again because you will have a refrigerant leak there. All right, so my lines are hooked up. I'm on my system. I'm ready to, first thing I always check is make sure I have static pressure on the system. If I don't have static pressure, and you can see that this system right here, these were zeroed out before we hooked to this vehicle. As you can see, the suction side and the discharge side, high and low side, are showing that the system has roughly about 65 to 70 psi of static pressure, which tells me that I have refrigerant inside the system that I need to do a recovery. This also tells me that I have, if I were going to do a diagnostic test on this vehicle, that tells me that I have enough static pressure that when I start the vehicle and tell the air conditioning system to come on, that the low pressure switch, which is on this system, is not going to keep it kicked out, and it will allow the clutch to kick in and do a cycle. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go through some steps. When we step over here on this side, we need to turn the machine on. When the machine powers up, it's going to give you the name of it. It's going to give you a couple of prompts that you need to do. All right, so it tells us that we have 7.25 pounds of refrigerant left in our storage tank, which tells me that I have more than enough to recharge this system. All right, so we don't know what's wrong with this system, so we've done some tests on it. We think that we pinpoint maybe the compressor is down on it. So we're going to do a recovery. Before we open any of the lines up, we must make sure that the refrigerant is evacuated out, that it's not leaked out into the atmosphere. Okay, so as you see, these valves are in the off position. We have recovery, vacuum, and charge, start, stop, and a numeric pad here that we can enter time and weights and such as that. So first thing we want to do is hit recovery. That's what the task is at hand. So we hit recovery. It's going to prompt us. It says connect hoses and make sure the valves are open on the manifold. These hoses are connected. Those valves are open. So what we do is we make sure the manifold valves are open. We open that one up and that completes the opening of the high pressure and the low pressure valves. All right, so we tell it to start. It asks us if we have those open, and we do, so we go to start. All right, it tells us in the recovery mode. All right, so here it starts pulling out the refrigerant. All right, so what I want you to do is make sure that you don't have your hands on the machine shaking and everything like that. Because as I said earlier, as I was describing the machine, it has scales in it. And if we're sloshing around the refrigerant in there, then it's going to give us an inaccurate reading of actually how much is in the system. Now, as it does the recovery, it takes maybe 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, and we're not going to wait that length of time. After it recovers, it's going to prompt you as in how much is recovered. Always look at that. It's going to say it recovered 2.8 ounces, 2 pound 8 ounces. So I always write it down somewhere because time you go through all your repair and everything, you may not remember exactly how much was in there. It's great that it's got 2.8 pounds, but is that the right amount? Okay, if it's got 2.8 pounds and the system calls for 4 pounds, then it's bad undercharged. All right, after it does the recovery, it tells you how much it is, refrigerant in it, it's going to prompt you to watch the recovered oil. Okay, the oil that is pulling from the system in the recovered oil is going to be stored right here in the recovery oil tank. Now, you're not going to reuse this oil, but you need to make a note of it. That recovery oil tank right now has 1/2 of an ounce in it. So if it pulls out 2 ounces of oil out of the system, we need to make sure that we're going to put 2 ounces back in it, right? Okay, so we make note of that. We pulled out 2 ounces of refrigerant oil. After that's done and everything's completed, we can disconnect our system, turn it off. We've got our notes made, and then we can do a repair. Once the repair is made and we hook back up, then before we can go any further, we need to do a vacuum, okay, and to get ready to recharge the system. So we've got it hooked back up. We're going to come over here and turn it back on. It's going to ask us, what do we want to do? We want to vacuum the system. So we're going to hit vacuum, and it's going to say, you need to open up the valves on your hoses and your manifold. We're going to make sure those valves are open and these valves are open, and then we're going to hit start. When we hit start, it's going to give us a prompt to enter in the time that we want to have a vacuum pull. I like pulling a vacuum for 45 minutes. So what you do is you enter 4500, hit enter, and when you hit enter, it automatically starts. You just leave it alone. Go find you a different job to be working on. It pulls the vacuum. When you come back, then you're ready to charge. Any questions about this tool? Why do you use this tool? Okay. Section 609, when we're dealing with the Clean Air Act of 1991, even though the CFCs have been removed from 134A, we still don't want to let the refrigerant out in the atmosphere. Okay, so we have to capture it. Anytime we work on, and you work under the Section 609, you must be EPA certified to do any work on this system or work with somebody that's certified. Good question. So that is why we use a recovery, recharge, recycle machine. Any other questions? Pardon me? What causes the system to become undercharged? You can have seals leaking at the fittings where they couple together. You can have a seal leaking on the input shaft of your air conditioner compressor. You can have hoses that get so much age on them that they start to break down on the inside and they start to seep from inside out. Good question. Anything else? Why not pull a 45-minute? I like to do the max. The textbook says 20 minutes. That's kind of a minimum time. The more vacuum you pull, the lower the micron number is, and the longer it stays on there, is the better your system is going to function. I like it, my system, you don't never know where your truck's going to be. It may be here in East Tennessee today. 2 days from now, it may be out in San Diego, California, fixing to go through the desert, and at 114 degrees. So the longer the vacuum, the better, more efficient the system is. All right, that wraps up our skills, what you're going to perform with a recovery machine. No other questions at this time. I'll turn you loose and get ready for it. Thank you.